Okay, welcome to today's Quantum Growth Show. I am here with Lisa Mulhern, who is a productivity and systems coach. And today we really want to talk a little bit about what actually productivity is and why it is so important for female entrepreneurs. Lisa will then also talk about the 4 productivity archetypes, because obviously, if we understand where we fall into, we can really identify what our preferences are and how we can increase our productivity and really understand how we work best. And I just wanted to say hello to Lisa, and obviously, Lisa, you can introduce yourself a little bit as well before we get started. So welcome to the show.
Hi, Sabine. Thanks for having me. Okay, so I'm Lisa Mulhern, founder of Perfectly Productive, and I am a productivity and systems coach for ambitious, creative female entrepreneurs. So it's really all about trying to maximize that productivity, really mastering your minutes in order to truly embrace the work smarter, not harder philosophy. But obviously doing it in a realistic way, because I know online we're fed so many myths about, work 20 minutes a day, make 6 figures overnight, and then we feel less than when we can't really accomplish that. So it is about trying to get as much done as possible, but getting the right things done. So the myth with productivity is just about that it's just getting shit done, basically. But it's not really just about getting stuff done, like as in mindlessly ticking off tasks on your to-do list, just so you can give yourself a good pat in the back and think, well done me for everything that I've achieved. So it's more about getting the right stuff done at the right time in order to really achieve maximum efficiency for your effort. So the boring definition from the dictionary really is that productivity is the effectiveness of productive effort, especially when we talk about in terms of industry, as measured in terms of the rate of output per unit of input. Now, I don't know about you, but that makes me want to sleep. So I can see why people are very prone to, when they hear about productivity, just rolling their eyes and going, here we go again, and just getting on with it. But basically, productivity is essentially a measurement of efficiency. Okay, and like I said, it's getting the right stuff done that's going to propel you forward towards where you want to be. It's not just about getting anything done. So an easier way I find with my clients to actually think about productivity is to view it as in a currency of time. So no matter who you are, no matter what you have in your bank, we all only have 7 days in a week, 24 hours in a day, 60 minutes in an hour. It's about how you use that time. So you cannot buy more time, but you can learn to use it more effectively. So with things like money, friendship, clients, even things like self-esteem, you can lose those, but you can gain them back at any time. Time is one of those precious things that when it's lost, unfortunately, it's lost. And it's just a sad fact. So to me, improving your productivity in business really helps you accomplish more in less time. And, I know it may sound cliche, but it's something that you need to take action on today. Not wait until tomorrow, not wait until the time is right. It's something that needs to be put into action right now, okay? And this is where then the productivity types come in, because when you can find your productivity type, or at least there are 4, and it's not easy, we'll say up front, it's not that easy just to fit into one neatly in a box. But hey, we're female entrepreneurs. That's why we do what we do, because we didn't fit neatly into society. We didn't fit into the whole get a proper job, 9 to 5, do your job, come home, be happy, and that's it. That's why we started our business, because we were passionate, because we were different. We wanted to put ourselves out there. So I really think that the key to remember is that everyone has their own unique needs in their business and in their life, and we build our business to suit our lifestyle. And helping to do that is know your productivity type, because when you know that, you know what to look for, you know the things that you're better at, the things that you need to watch out for. So those little triggers that can be your little downfalls, the things that maybe you aren't so good at, and that is what helps you then to get the most out of it. So is there anything you want to ask, Sabine, or will I dive in quickly then to the 4 different types?
Yes, I'm very excited about that. So what
Okay.
are we going to do once we know what's our productivity type, what is it that we need to then go and do in order to really utilize that knowledge and
Okay, so
implement in
today
others?
will just be a very brief overview of what the 4 main types are, because there's so much more to it. But I'm hoping that you can take away from this session then and really get a gauge on what your most dominant type is. So it's knowing then how you best work in any situation. So do you work best alone? Are you someone who needs deadlines to keep them on track? Maybe that is putting too much pressure on you and you work in a totally different style or workflow. It's when you know your productivity type, then you can really get your peak energy flow going. Okay, so like I said, there's a lot more to it, and it helps you then discover what your peak energy hours are and how you can really maximize that style to the best of your ability.
Perfect. Good.
So I'll dive in. Pardon me. So first of all, we have the prioritizer. And as the name sort of gives away, this is someone who thrives on prioritizing. Okay, they love to stick to the facts. They're all about logic, data, analytics, and they are a great critical thinker. So these are people that are really focused on tasks, okay? And they're so focused on the tasks that they need to do rather than how they're actually going to accomplish those tasks. So for them, it's all about priorities and prioritizing and really meeting those deadlines. So these people are really super uber efficient. They're great decision makers and they work best alone. Okay. So the sort of flip side of that is then that their downfalls may be that they can be seen as a little bit of a daydreamer. They work best alone because in a group setting, they can be prone to sort of idle group gossip and things like that really cause distractions. Another thing that they need to watch out for is, like I said, they're so focused on the tasks that they need to complete rather than accomplishing those. And although they love logic and data, they can be prone to missing or incomplete data. So they maybe just get so stuck in that they don't actually pay much attention to how they're actually doing it. And therefore, there can be missing or incomplete parts of it. So these people really hate vague instructions, and their pet peeve is inefficient use of time. So these type of productivity people would be best to hire something like a coach or a mentor. Someone, not so much a consultant, I would say more a coach or a mentor, because they need that person, that position in their life to really hold them to their plans, to help them map out those plans so that they can break it down into the smaller, more manageable steps so that they can focus on those smaller tasks and actually focus on the tasks they're doing rather than just getting it accomplished. So that is prioritizer. Is there anything you want to ask, or should I jump on into the next, which I know from speaking to you before, Sabine, this is where you think you fit in neatly, and that is, of course, planner. So these are detailed thinkers.
Into many different categories. I mean, I'm also sometimes going straight into tasks, and I'm not always productive. As you know, we can be very distracted when we do social media, for example. So I think there's many focuses that we could potentially all fit in, but it will really help to understand. I mean, to the planner. Let's go to the planner. Yes.
Yes, planners. And like I said, these people are really detailed thinkers. They're organized. They really thrive on lists, on plans, checklists, and just order in general. They're very aware of deadlines. But the downside for these people are that they're not very spontaneous. They don't adapt well to change. Okay, so as we know, there's the great saying that, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. But on the flip side of that, we are human. Okay, we cannot plan for every event because we cannot control every event. And life and business is ever changing, it's ever evolving. And that is kind of the downside of the planner, is that they don't adapt well to change. They're not very well equipped with that. It does take them a little bit of time. They also find it very hard to work outside of the box. So with that creative thinking, because they thrive on the lists and the plans. So they need to keep coming back to that in order to find some sort of order. These people also find it really difficult in team settings. Okay, so like if you're in team settings, a lot of the time, obviously there's meetings, and you know that it's so quick on the moment. It's like fire the ideas. These people really cringe in this sort of situation because they need that little bit longer to really process and think about that topic in depth before they feel comfortable with shouting out ideas and contributions. So they love to plan, but they find it really difficult to reorganize if something crops up. Like I said, you know, we cannot plan for every event. Unfortunately, we can plan the best we can, but things are always going to come up. And in that situation, it sort of throws these people off because they find it hard then to sort of restructure and reorganize. So in a team, obviously planners are the people that you want there in order to keep you on track, in order to get projects finished on time. So they're really the timekeepers of work schedules, and they're there to hold other people accountable for deadlines. So I don't know if anything cropped up there for you, Sabine, or is there anything you want to ask about that?
Yeah, so I guess if you're a planner, you're kind of a bit more inflexible. What's the solution? How do you become a bit more flexible? I mean, I guess the thing is, if you're too much of a planner, it's like, oh my gosh, you know, something's gone wrong and now my whole schedule is thrown out, kind of thing. So
yeah, well, you can't escape, because that is your personality. You are a planner by default. So it's more about how you plan. So there are different ways around that, as in how you actually structure your plan. So that is a lot to get into, but it's about finding a way that works for you and not being so rigid with your planning. So it can be a little bit more fluid. Basically, remember not to plan and schedule yourself, you know, totally back to back. Remember that things may crop up and you may need to change things as needed. So it's about leaving that little bit of wiggle room there, that if need be, having maybe like floating blocks. So it's all about how you actually structure your plan, but you can't get away from the fact that you are a planner by nature. But again, it's working on different mindset issues then, that, you know, if something does come up, how do you cope with that? How do you adapt to change? So it's really getting to know your strengths as a planner, but then how you to work on the weaknesses. And I think that's the same with all four of these. That's why they're so important. They help you work more productively because you know your strengths. But to me, it's more important that you know them because you figure out your weaknesses. And that's how you work on this, how you become a better person, how you become more successful in business.
Yeah, and yeah, I can definitely identify. I mean, I have pretty much a schedule. I use my Google Calendar a lot to schedule in meetings with other people, and it helps me to just to remember what I'm actually doing and sort of move forward. And there are times when sort of things crop up, people are ill or I'm not, I got something going on, and I think go and create another meeting for, say, next week, same time, or just sort of move it by 1 week so that it doesn't sort of get out of my horizon, so I don't forget about doing that particular task. That's how I cope with it, I guess, if things change around.
Yeah, and that's it. It is going to be unique to each and every person. Unfortunately, I cannot give you a magic key to it, but it's knowing that and knowing then how you can sort of, without the plan for that then, for your weaknesses, without planning overkill. So the next one then obviously is the arranger, which I always think sounds like something out of a mafia film. I don't know how it was ever sort of named that, but that's what it is nonetheless. So these people really tend to be more extroverted. They're very emotional beings, very bubbly personality, and they absolutely, as you can imagine, thrive in group settings. So they are the ones who love stepping up, getting in there straight away, and taking over, managing the meetings. They absolutely love creating and selling their ideas. You know, they don't really care who they pitch to. They're straight in there. But they cringe at the thought of obviously working alone because they need that personal and social interaction. So for these people, it would be best, obviously, if they worked in a team setting, and if that wasn't possible, if they were working from home, that they at least have that interaction, that social interaction with people, so that they're having meetings. So even something like Zoom rather than, plain old email, or if possible, that they even share a co-working space. So it's workarounds like this that really help these people thrive. But these would be the people who absolutely love getting in there with joint ventures and partners and collaborations and stuff like that. They love that kind of interaction, and that's how they maintain their energy. So they can sort of feel quite dumb and, stale and stagnant when they're on their own, because it's hard to get motivated. So they're very thoughtful and encouraging people. They really do try to spur others on. So we hear about really these women who, are really empowering other women, and that's what they're there for. They're there to uplift and inspire other people, and they love that whole soundboarding and bouncing things off each other. So that obviously they excel then in things like team projects. The downside, obviously, for being so extroverted and that bubbly personality is obviously, as you can imagine, they can get really distracted and lose focus. They can get caught up in the idle chit chat. So they need something that's going to keep them focused, even for short bursts. So something like the Pomodoro technique. So the 20 to 25 minute short burst of really deep focused work for these people, because they can do that. They can stay focused and maintain their focus for that short burst because they know they're going to be rewarded. So they're sort of childlike in that way, that they know they need that reward in order to incentivize them, to really spur them on. So really what they do then is that if they're working at home, and they go for it for that short burst, then obviously they go onto social media and interact. If they're in the office, obviously then it's who wants another coffee? Let's gather in the kitchen. So they have that interaction once they know they've done that work. You may think, well, it's a really short burst, how are they going to get anything done? But when they're going at it, they are really focused. Mm-hmm. So I suppose you need to weigh up, is it better to be focused like that for short periods and then reward yourself with a short interaction afterwards? And that interaction is what actually makes them more productive, because it's refilling, recharging their energy. And that's what's getting them refocused for the next short burst. Then we have the visualizer, okay, and these are the last, obviously, type of the four main types of productivities. And these people are what you'll think of when you think of shiny object syndrome, or as they talk about the curse of the entrepreneurial ADHD. Now, I'm not saying they have to suffer from ADHD, but they have that sort of really busy mind. They are the big picture thinkers, but often struggle with the smaller, finer details of it, okay? So they know where they're headed, they know what they want to achieve, and sometimes they can also be seen as idealistic or daydreamers, but it's breaking that down. It's about focusing on the smaller, finer details in order to get there, and that's sometimes what they can overlook, so they can get into trouble that way. They need to be constantly juggling multiple tasks at once. Now, I will say juggling multiple tasks. I don't mean multitasking, because as we know, multitasking doesn't work, but they have a lot on their plate, okay? So you'll never see them just focusing on one main thing. So you'll never see them just focusing on one main offer. They need to be jumping around with multiple in order to sustain that interest. So they start out full of good intentions, full of passion, energy, and enthusiasm, but it can dwindle quite quickly. These people can work in group settings or alone, as long as they're finding ways then to maintain that passion. And this is something then that they need to think about, because these are people who can get bored quite quickly of the same work setting. So if you're working from home, it can be quite easy to lose interest. So these people maybe enjoy going to places like a cafe or co-working spaces, to get things done, so that they're not really getting bored of where they're at. They're great for starting things, but often lose the enthusiasm for finishing. So they do need that accountability there to hold them to that. You will find with these people that they are quite cluttered or appear to be outwardly cluttered anyway. So if you walked into their office, you might be thinking, how in God's earth do they ever get anything done? There's paperwork everywhere. But it is what I like to call organized chaos. So I don't know if that makes sense, but they may have 20 different stacks of paperwork, but if you ask them, they can quickly locate where it's at. So they need it to be like that in order to stay focused. So the rest of these types need to have that, minimalist, clear energy, keep it very organized, very clear, clutter-free in order to stay focused. These are very, very different, and they need that sort of that little bit of freeway with the structure. Okay, so we know structure is freedom, but these people need to push the boundaries a little bit on that and just to stay organized, but in maybe a manner that doesn't really make much sense to the rest of us. So they're very creative thinkers. They're very spontaneous. They love change, adapt really well to it, can switch gears quickly when it comes to switching between tasks and projects. But the problem here with these people are that they can run amok if they're not reeled in, because, like I said, they're very big picture thinking. They're very creative. They're idealistic, and sometimes they need to be brought down to earth because their heads can be in the cloud and they need to be told, like, that's great, but you need to focus on this thing, get it finished before you can move on, because you just can't jump from 0 to 60 straight away. There needs to be a logical path in order to get the business success that you need. So these people are really brilliant, with cropping up with ideas and different tasks. The thing probably to keep them on task, especially if they work alone, is batching. So I know it's probably going to sound very boring to them, but batching content, batching similar tasks, or even coming up with something like theme days will really help this type of productivity type to stay focused and on task without losing that enthusiasm for it. So that's just a really quick sort of 101 rundown through the 4 types. So any questions, feel free to go for it.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I do have a few questions. I mean, I can see a little bit of myself in all 4 types, to be quite honest. I mean, I love big projects. I love collaboration. Sometimes I am planner, of course, as well. But then sometimes I just don't want to do the detail either. I'm thinking, okay, the batching actually would work. And I'm thinking about every time I batched something sort of content-wise on social media, that worked much better than trying to sit down every day and just writing one piece of content. So I guess if you know where your strengths and weaknesses are and where you fit somehow within all the 4 types, then you can just pull out maybe the best things and the best recommendations that you just mentioned. And then what came through my mind just now is thinking back into sort of workspace and some people actually having some, maybe fit better to do some certain projects, like if they are more, say, extrovert, like they could be like the meeting planners or the wedding planners and that kind of stuff. So is, would some people really benefit from knowing their productivity type before they go into doing a certain business or into a certain
definitely
role?
Yeah, I really agree with we talk about our own unique personalities and does your personality suit your business, and that's something I actually have a guide on. But I really do think, yes, it is important to know your productivity type, because you may have a passion for something, but it may not be for you for business because it doesn't fit your personality type. So it may be something that you really are enthusiastic about, maybe something even that you like as a hobby, but it doesn't always fit with your personality. So if you're not working, with your business, with your personality, then you're going to be struggling all the time. So you're always going to be fighting these things. You're always going to have to be working on your weaknesses. And where do you sort of draw the line? Isn't it smarter then to go with something, rather than always going against the grain, to work with these personality types, to work with your productivity type in order to be more successful, to be you in your business, but to be you in a way that's going to be successful in your business. So this is really about finding out who you are as well. but in a way that you are being all of you. Because if we try to be someone else in our business, that comes across. We're not being authentic. We're not being in integrity. So why try to hide your flaws? Be open and honest. I'm good at this, but I'm not so good at that. And that is fine. But you know that. So the first step is awareness. And it's by being aware of your weaknesses and admitting that you actually have them, rather than trying to be polished and perfect. Then that's how you work on them. And that's what makes you you, because we can't all just be little robots in business. So it's about having that personality flair. So it's like you say, whether you're a planner, these certain things fit for you, but maybe you find yourself that you also fall into, like the visualizer, even though you're a planner, you love the big picture things and you plan for that, but maybe you're not as good at breaking that down into the more realistic tasks that you need to accomplish day by day to get there. So it's all about trying to make it fit for you.
Oh, brilliant. I think you just brought it home now in terms of why these 4 are so important to understand. So thank you so much,
No
Lisa.
problem.
Please let people know where they can find you and who you work with.
Yes, like I said, I work with ambitious, creative female entrepreneurs, because obviously they're ambitious, they want to get out there, they want to achieve so much. But, being the creative side, they can be the visualizer, they want to create it, but they maybe lack the structure that the planner or the prioritizer has. And that's where I come in. That's where I help you find that healthy balance. I like to teach how to leverage things like systems and automation to really master your minutes, to help you be as productive as you can in your business, so that you can work smarter, not harder. I'm there to help you scale for more impact and more income, but not at the cost of giving up your time freedom for it. So you can find me at Perfectly Productive. If you search on Facebook, you'll find Perfectly Productive, or I hang out a lot in my free Facebook group, which is Be Perfectly Productive. And if you don't mind, I can drop a link to that then. So yeah, you'll find out more about me there.
Fantastic. We'll make sure it's in the notes attached to this recording. So thank you so much, Lisa. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
I've never really looked into productivity as such in detail, and I've not had anyone actually talk to me about those 4 types. And I think it's really opened up my mind, and I understand why I am, feeling frustrated when doing certain tasks. And this has been absolutely useful. So appreciate it.
This is only really the tip of the iceberg, but I find if you jump in there and start giving them the science behind it and the creating neural pathways and stuff, it can instantly turn them off, because they're like, I'm not interested in that. But I think if you keep it practical and they can see why this is important, how it affects them, then that then sort of introduces the concept a little bit more and makes it, oh yeah, this might actually be something I need to look into in my business.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you're the expert. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm still a work in progress. Like we're only human. I know these things, but sometimes I don't always keep up with it. And I'm not ashamed to say that. That's part and parcel of it.
Yes. But at least, it's great to have someone actually looking at your business, I guess, and looking at you and helping you sort of open up your blind spots. And I think that's where every coach needs another coach to help them.
Absolutely. I'm a huge believer in we all need someone to help us see the things that we can't, and really spur us on, hold us accountable for those days we don't really feel like it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Lisa. Appreciate you.
Bye.